Hello AOS fans, Robin here, and I'm back again, and I have Rippa's Snarlfangs for you. I'm very quickly going to open the box. I have opened it and looked through it already. Sent some pictures of Pete cards to Pete that we like. I'm not going to see Pete till next week, so I'm going to have to do this myself. There's not a lot to tell really. I mean, you've got 2 decks of cards. You've got plastic. Probably the biggest shocking thing is the plastic is quite dull and grey. You've obviously got 3 models. A Rippa and a couple of others on the wolves. You know, you've seen the models on Warhammer Community, and you know the stats and things. But there you go. That's the plastic. Not that exciting. And then I'll just quickly go through the cards, shall I? So let me know what you think. Let me know what your favourite ones are. As I've said on our other video, we will be playing Rippa next week with just the Warband specific faction cards, probably against 2 different factions, and on Patreon they're going to choose that. So if you want to get in on the action, do check us out on Patreon. But let me know what your favourite cards are, which ones you're going to take, which ones you're not going to take, whether you think this is a dog's breakfast or whether you think it's the dog's knackers. Then yeah, do let me know what you think. Yeah, do let me know what you think. Comments and all that kind of stuff. Really interested to hear your input. Are you going to play Rippas? Let us know. Bye. Okay, welcome back. So we're going to be looking at Snarlfangs cards here, and I mean these have been spoiled already. Engage which we've had their piece out on the Warhammer community page, so you've kind of seen these. My first thought was, I'm a bit underwhelmed by these, certainly when they're uninspired. I mean the big thing I suppose is that they have this amazing second attack as a reaction after your activation, including attack action. Then you can do this reaction. It's after an activation, so it can't be counted towards keep chopping, but nevertheless it's still effectively a free action to attack. A free attack action. It's not a very good one. It's 1 hammer, 2 damage. I mean 2 damage is actually, I kind of almost overlooked that. I was sort of so focused on the hammer when I started looking that I kind of overlooked the fact that it is 2 damage. Now, I was talking to Pete after one of our matches the other night, and I was kind of saying, I suppose it's a bit like having a trap that works some of the time. I don't know what the percentages are. I know Well of Power did a big feature on the maths of it, and of course everybody would ask for like a trap that worked a third of the time, all the time, I would have thought. But I say I don't exactly know the exact percentages, but it's actually better than that because you've got 2 damage. So although 1 hammer is quite tricky, you've got a hit, and it's always going to be reasonably easy to defend. Not always, but you know it's going to be reasonably easy to defend. But 2 damage is big. So I flip flop on it. I don't really like it. Anybody who has watched the games recently, you will know Pete and I aren't big fans of anything that involves dice, basically. And it's massively, you're relying on your dice. If your dice go with you with this warband, you're going to tear your opponent apart. If they don't go with you, if they're against you, then it's going to be really tough. I mean, the basic attacks aren't great. The jaws attacks, although they're 2 damage, they're not reliable. So you know we're going to be looking at. We'll have to see. But I'm reluctant to pull these up, to bring these out because of the sheer unreliable nature of it. I'd much rather choose a set of events that I know I can control to a greater extent than you relying on the dice. Nevertheless, they're fairly easy to inspire. I mean, okay, nobody's going to be attacking your leader, I don't think, unless there's a way of forcing them to. So the way to inspire them basically is to attack the leader or kill him. And I can't see people doing that until Mean Eye and Stab It are out of action, because why would you try and inspire them before you go on to Ripper? I don't know. I mean, you could probably force it, and Ripper needs 2 upgrades on him, and you're going to try to be stopping that, I guess, because once he's got his 2 upgrades on him, he goes up to 3 hammers, 2 damage, which is no bad thing. And then you're looking at 2 swords on the wolf attack, and he's got a bow attack as well, which he doesn't have to start off with. So he gets his bow out when he's inspired. It's only 2 swords though, so warning shot probably a possibility for these guys. But you know, I'm not sure. But the boss lopper, 3 hammers, 2 damage is pretty tasty, and you've still got that. And the Snarlfangs got up to 2 swords, which is, you know, it's better. It's better. It is. Cannot be modified, but you can have rerolls. So some of the reroll on them would be pretty good. And then you're on the other guys. They've got sort of slightly longer. They've got a spear and a bow for their standard attacks. And then when they inspire, if you do damage or even attack Ripper, and the bow goes up to 3. The spear goes up to 3 swords. Again, they're only 1 damage. The wolves do both go up to 2 swords, 2 damage. You're looking at 4 wounds, which is great, obviously, across the board. Sort of Stormcast-esque. 2 dodge, reliable, more reliable than one shield certainly. And then you have got a scything attack for stab it. It's just 3 swords, 1 damage. Again, I suppose if you've got great strength on him, could be good. I've had little luck with scything. It's brilliant when it comes off, but it doesn't come off as often as I would like. So they're the basic attacks. Now, really, it's going to rely on whether they're any good or not, on what their faction cards are like. And a quick cursory look, they're pretty good. There is definitely room for some shenanigans in here. So you've got pack leader. Let's zoom in a little bit. You've got pack leader, which is purely for Rippa, but you can re-roll any number of dice in this fighter's attack rolls for the snarling jaws attack action. So immediately you can re-roll either the 2 swords or the 1 hammer. So immediately you're upping the chances of that attack hitting, which is really big, really good. And then you've got quick drop Venom. I've realised I'm doing this in the other way around. I've done the others, but I'll start with the upgrades. You've got quick drop Venom, which is a reaction after this fighter's successful attack action. Other than a Snarlfang Jaws attack action, roll 1 attack dice. On a hammer or crit, the target of the attack action is dealt 1 damage. It's not quick drop. No, it's not the card that I thought it was. We will come back to that card later. But that's a little poison there, though clearly not a poison card. Loping Strides +2 move. Going to be pretty handy. Take them up to 7 move on when they're inspired, and 6 when they're not. So cover ground going to be great for these. We've got Circling Hunter reaction after this fighter's attack action, but not during a super action, or after an attack action that targets this fighter, but not during a super action. Push this fighter 1 hex. So we've got some little bit of movement shenanigans there. And then we've got Hidden Sticker, Hidden Slitter, which is a cleave attack with 3 swords, 1 damage. Just for mean eye though, that one. You could perhaps be looking for what armour on that, and possibly Embittered Survivor, +1 wounds, always handy, taking one of your fighters up to 5 wounds. Fiendish Jab, just for stab it, is +1 damage to this fighter's stabbing sticker action for each crit in the attack roll. Not like to get that many crits. I mean, you could do, you're rolling 3 dice, but you know, +1 damage isn't bad, but it is specific to stick it. And then Hunt as 1. Now, when this fighter supports a friendly fighter, this fighter is considered to be 2 supporting fighters. Now, in some warbands, this card would be pretty great. I think in this warband, I'm not sure how often they're going to be together. I'm going to kind of have to see how they play. But that's Hunt as 1. Boss Hat. Now, this might be my favourite card in the game. I'm wearing the Boss Hat now, and I says, what goes? Stab it. So if the leader's killed, if Rippa's dead, again, which I think is perhaps unlikely because people aren't going to be trying to target him. Stab it gets +1 defence. In fact, either of them get +1 defence, +1 damage to their attack action. So, you know, pretty good. They're only 3 dodge. Could be in there, but I feel like Rippa will always be the last one to be killed. Bonded. When this fighter makes an attack action that targets an adjacent enemy fighter, or is the target of an attack action made by an adjacent enemy fighter, this fighter is considered to have 1 additional supporting fighter, which is effectively like Helpful Whispers, but it works on attack rolls and defense rolls, so that's pretty good. That's a nice card, Bonded. I think we're going to find that in most Snarlfang decks. And then we've got the ploys now. We've got Vindictive Attack, +2 dice to the first attack action made by a friendly fighter in the next activation, +2 dice with no drawback. Is very nice indeed. Smell Weakness, the first attack action made by a friendly fighter in the next action has Cleave and Ensnare if the target has 1 or more wound tokens. Now this could be really good. It's kind of like if you could manage to do a little bit of damage with the initial attack, the follow-up attack is going to have Ensnare and Cleave, which could definitely be the difference between success and failure. Unbridled Ferocity. I really like this card too. Another reaction. Plays after a friendly fighter's failed Snarfling Jaws attack action. That fighter makes another one. Well, I suppose there's cards like that in most decks, but you know, it could be good. You're piling on the chances of getting a Snarlfang attack off, and they do 2 damage, so they are quite tasty. Venomous Spittle. I think this was the card I was getting confused the Toxic card for earlier, the Venom card earlier. There's another reaction. You play this after a friendly fighter's successful Snarlfang Jaws attack action, so there is a bit of a caveat there. They're not always going to be that easy to be successful. The target that action is dealt 1 damage at the end of each action phase. This effect persists until the target is out of action. I suppose if this comes out early, it's really quite good. If it doesn't come out early, then it's really quite not. And actually, I guess it's probably not as good as you might like, because probably if you've done an attack action, you're probably going to want to, whoever you've attacked, you're probably going to want to take them out before the end of the game. So it's perhaps not as good as I first thought. But I do like the idea of it. Narrow Escape. Play this when a friendly fighter is dealt damage before placing wound tokens on their fighter card. Reduce the damage to one to a minimum of 1. It's becoming a fairly standard mechanic in the game now. Defensive Manoeuvre. Choose one friendly fighter, push that fighter up to 1 hex away from the nearest enemy fighter. Give the friendly fighter 1 guard token. So that's like super sidestep. With basically get to sidestep them and put them on guard. Pack Tactics. Choose one friendly fighter and up to 2 friendly fighters adjacent to that fighter. Push each chosen fighter 1 hex. Again, maybe there's going to be things here to bring your fighters together. I kind of feel like with 3 fighters, it's quite hard to get them adjacent to one another, but you never know. Savage Mauling. No, this is not an average game between me and Pete. This is a new card for Rippa's Snarlfangs. The first attack action. The first range 1 or 2 attack action made by a friendly fighter in the next activation has +1 dice and +1 damage for each supporting friendly fighter. So they're definitely trying to get you into that supporting, helping each other shtick, which maybe that's the way to play these. I kind of, as I said, I've said it a couple of times now, I kind of feel like with 3 members in your warband, it's quite hard to do that. I know people have kind of used Stormcast in that way. Maybe it's just the way I play. I feel that Savage Mauling, I feel like that's maybe tricky, especially with some of the manoeuvre ploys that are around, but you know, there are definitely reasons to do it with all these cards building up, so I perhaps have to rethink my initial kind of idea of how this warband might play. Furious Reprisal. Play this after an enemy fighter's attack action that's targeted a friendly fighter. So assuming they're still alive, that friendly fighter makes an attack action that must target that enemy fighter, and you can reroll any number of dice in the attack roll. So that could be immense. If you can survive. Obviously you've got 4 or 5 wounds. Chances are you won't be killed, and then your Furious Reprisal comes out. Hamstring. Play this after a friendly fighter's successful Snarlfang Jaws attack action. Give the target of that attack action 1 move token. So again, a nice little way of doing it. Although of course, if you've been charged, perhaps not so good. But if you're doing the charging, could be brutal. They can still attack you though, but they can't go off to somewhere else. So it could be useful. I don't know. It could be useful. I don't know that it would see much play in a universal card deck though. However, and then I think now I'm just onto the objectives. So how are these guys going to play? There's definitely some suggestion that they should be working together. Let's see if the objectives bear out the same idea. No Mercy. So Surge, you score this immediately after a friendly fighter's successful attack action that targeted an enemy fighter with 1 or more wound tokens. So I guess this is quite likely because you've got lots of attacks, so the chances are at some point you're going to attack somebody with wounds. Kind of attritional damage we're looking at with these guys. So that seems like a reasonable card, though again, would it make it into a sort of full universal card deck? I don't know. Plunderers. Score this in an end phase. Each surviving friendly fighter has 1 or more upgrades. Fairly common mechanic. You might play it. Loaded with plunder. So the plunder is definitely a theme. Score this in end phase if one of your friendly fighters has 3 or more upgrades. Well, again, we've seen this mechanic quite a lot, but it is 2 glory. I think generally it's 1 glory. So that's quite interesting. So a Stormcast, I think you can only get a 1 glory version. A 2 glory version is probably worth it. Marking your territory. Score this in an end phase if your warband has 1 or more objectives in enemy territory. 1 glory. Score this in an end phase. There's an argument to say that they're not worth having now. But you could definitely score this with a bit of speed and things. So yeah, that's a possible one. Again, I'm not sure it would make it in a universal card game. Feeding Time. Score this immediately when an enemy fighter is taken out of action by a friendly fighter's Snarlfang Jaws attack action. Well, I suppose if you're going to hit, then you're going to score this a reasonable amount of times. But it's really going to depend on how reliable those attacks are. Okay, and then Lay Waste. It's basically specific annihilation. Scores an end phase if all enemy fighters are out of action. Swift Hunters. Score this end phase if 3 or more surviving friendly fighters have made 1 or more move or charged tokens, or if they have them. I think you could probably score this. I mean, they're definitely offensive, and you're definitely going to want to be trying to get in there to attack. So possibly that's That's a reasonable card. Again, it is only one end phase glory. Leading the charge, another surge. Score this immediately after your leader makes a successful attack action as part of a charge action. I'm never so keen on these successful attack actions as part of a charge action. I suppose you've got two chances with these guys, but you could charge, miss, then you're bricked up because if it's the leader, once you've done that charge, then if you don't score it, that's it. That card is bricks in your hands. I'm not a fan of that card. Cruel Hunters. That's another duel. Score this in an end phase if two or more enemy fighters are out of action. Quite possible in this game with these guys, depending on who you're fighting, and one or more friendly fighters are in enemy territory. Well, I guess you're probably going to be taking the fight to your opponent, so it doesn't seem like a bad option for 2 glory. I probably would have that in preference to some of the 1 glory cards. Chase Down. Score this immediately after an activation if 2 or more friendly fighters are adjacent to the same enemy. So there is something for promoting adjacency. It is Surge. So yeah, I can see that they're definitely leaning towards that, working in concert together. Conquered Land. Score this in phase if your warband has all objectives in 1 or more players' territories. Now, an interesting one, that one, especially with some of these other cards that are knocking around, which can flip objectives over. I've seen, if you look at our universal card video, you can see there's a few more cards creeping in. That's 2 glory, and you could almost be like innocently on one and then somehow flip another, but you haven't got the spell versions of it. I think the others are in the game. I think they're reactions to pushes and moves. But anyway, that's beside the point. Definitely scoreable, I think, that one. 2 glory. Again, I'd probably pick that over the 1 glory entries. And then Burning Spite. Score this immediately after an activation if 2 or more surviving friendly fighters are inspired. Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because 2 of them are inspired by attacking Rippa, and that would basically score this in one fell swoop. Otherwise, it could be quite tricky because at Rippa, you've got to get your 2 upgrades on, and then the other 2 basically do inspire once Rippa is attacked. And so I'm not sure about that one. It's a little bit out of your control. I'm not 100% sure I have it, but maybe if you have Blazing Soul in your deck, maybe you could think about it. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think, which card you like. I'm kind of pretty much, as I've said to you at the top of the video, I'm up against the time this week, so I've kind of had to run through it. I haven't had a lot of time to sit and go over the cards. Some of the more competitive players will probably be more insightful, but hopefully less entertaining. So do let us know what you think. I'd say I think I've got a feel for these guys working together, maybe trying to hit fast. I think you're going to be trying to accuracy. As many accuracy things as you can get, but of course you can't add dice, you can only add rerolls. So it's going to be interesting to see how these plays. I have to say, of the 4 warbands that are out, admittedly probably because I've seen Despoilers evolve a little bit, I think these guys are my least favourite, but I know Pete doesn't have that opinion, so I suspect he'll be taking these. But maybe I'll be surprised as the meta evolves. So I haven't really had a strong thought of how that meta is going to evolve for these guys. Looking forward to playing the Warband faction game, though. I will definitely pick these up in one of those games. We're going to play 2 Warband faction games in the coming weeks, and I will definitely play these in at least one of those games, or probably one of those games, and Pete will do the other. So let us know what you think, and we'll see you soon.